You know, son, people often think that when you move to a new country, it's the big people who help you the most. Family, bosses, officials. But sometimes the one who changes your life is someone no one even sees. When I first came to the West, I didn't know the language, I didn't have a job, I didn't even have a place to stay. But I had something stronger than any of that. I had hope. And oddly enough, that hope was protected by a homeless man I didn't even know. It was 1971. The city was New York. I had arrived with a suitcase so old it barely held together, and shoes that were already too thin for the pavement. I was told I'd have a job and a bed waiting. But life has a funny way of testing you before it trusts you. I searched all day for my cousin who was supposed to meet me at the terminal. He never showed up. His address didn't exist anymore. No phone, no one to ask, no money for a hotel. I was alone in a city of millions. I spent the night walking, just walking, afraid to sit, afraid to stop. At one point, I sat outside a 24-hour diner just to rest my feet. That's when he appeared. Big coat, torn gloves, graying beard. He looked like he'd lived 10 hard lives. He sat beside me like we were old friends and said, "You're new here. I can smell it." I didn't respond. I barely understood the words, but I nodded, slowly. Then he did something I still can't forget. He opened his paper bag and pulled out a lukewarm coffee. He handed it to me without a word. Then he said, "Tonight's going to be cold. Coffee helps." We didn't speak much that night. He sat beside me in silence, but I didn't feel scared anymore. I wasn't alone. Over the next few days, I kept running into him. He showed me where I could get a free breakfast. He introduced me to a church that gave out coats. He even taught me how to say thank you properly. He was the first person I practiced English with. He told me his name was Paul. No last name, just Paul. He had lost his family in a fire years ago. Never recovered, never blamed anyone. He just said life moved on. I stayed. One night, I offered him a blanket I was given. He laughed and said, "You're learning fast. Give before you take. That's the real American way." Weeks later, I finally got work in a factory. Nothing fancy, just enough to eat and sleep. I wanted to find Paul and tell him, thank him, take him out for real food. But he was gone. Gone like the wind, like he was never real. No one in the area remembered him. Some said he moved, others said he died. I never knew, but what I do know is this. My first friend in the West didn't have a home, but he gave me one thing no apartment or job could give me, a sense of belonging. Year later, when I saw others struggling, new immigrants, scared teenagers, lonely workers, I always remembered Paul. Sometimes I'd hand out warm tea, other times just a smile, and I always said the same line, "Tonight might be cold, coffee helps." Because Paul was right. You don't always need a roof to offer shelter. Sometimes you just need to sit beside someone. If someone ever helped you when they had nothing to gain, remember them. Keep them alive in your kindness. And if you want to hear more stories like this from a man who lived them all, subscribe to Echoes from Grandpa. I've got more stories to tell. Some will make you cry, some will make you laugh, but all of them will remind you what really matters. Until next time, son, be the person who gives the coffee, not because you have a lot, but because someone might have even less.